movies. Movies. Oh my gosh, I can't believe, because like when you think about it, that first Toy Story is from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yep, night was it 90s?
We're getting old.
We are getting old.
We're getting old.
It's insane.
I just got to the point where I started going like, wait a minute. Am I older than Doc Brown is in Back to the Future? How old am I? How old is he? Like, I hit these moments where I went, I know I'm older than James T. Kirk in the original Star Trek.
So Christopher Lloyd,
Yeah.
age Back to the Future, because I think he was. I don't even know if they say like how old he actually was in
No
the
idea,
movie.
but
Okay, so it says here he Christopher Lloyd was 46 while filming the original Back to the Future.
so in other words, we're all roughly within a year of the dude we thought was an old guy.
I'm the same age as him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yay!
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's great.
Yay!
I love it. And nuggets.
And it's true, too. I can't remember who said this, but they're like, yeah, after, I think it's age 35, you stop thinking about your age. So you just always think you're about 35.
Right.
In actuality, I'm now 10 years past that point. And it's really, I hit these moments where I'm going like, oh my God, I am that old dude now. and I've got like younger friends that are, and I don't know if they're being nice or not. They're like, yeah, you're not old. I'm like, in a way, you're not telling me the truth there. I see what you're saying, but I'm not like a kid.
When I had to take Betty in to get her colonoscopy, and then that same year, I think earlier, my doctor tried to give me a surprise check in the old prostaticus without giving me any warning at all. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
A little ting-a-ling-a-loo.
I'm turning that corner. No, I didn't do it that day. I was like, whoa. I was like, dude, I need to have at least a day of mental preparation before you start willing the dilly up there. I'm like, no.
I can't wait for mine because I have a female doctor. I'm going to be like, so do I pay you? Should the wife leave the room?
Oh my God.
Thank me a little first.
Oh, that's great. Oh my God. Do I pay you? Do I leave the money on the slab here, or what's going on?
Oh yeah, I had to get mine done earlier this year in beginning of summer actually, because I had to switch out gastro doctors, and my gastro doctor, she's amazing. She's freaking hot, man. It's scary. Even our primary doctor, she was like, she's so pretty, and she's like, oh, I hate her. She's so pretty. I'm just like, yeah, she's pretty hot. And so
I hate her because she's so pretty.
And so anyway, like she's like, oh yeah, she's like, oh well, look at my, she's like, looking at your age and the factors, and she's like, and also with Black women, you're way overdue for your colonoscopy. I'm just like, wait a minute, what? She's like, yeah, it's recommended for Black women and yada. I'm just like, okay, let's just get it over with. I was like, all right, and yeah, Eric took me in. I'm just like, hey, sweet, it's the alien abduction drug. Nice. You're gonna feel a little sleepy. Really? Okay. I literally felt my eyes go opposite directions when they were putting me out. It was great.
Oh, I've only been under once, and that was when they took my wisdom teeth out, and I was just like, because they stuck me and I wasn't feeling anything. He's like, I'm going to count back from 10. No. He said, no, he asked me where I worked. And I was like, oh, I work at the... And then my mom was like waking me up. I'm like, what the fudge just happened?
Oh man, I've been under several, like many times. My favorite one is I had to get my first endoscopy I had to get because I got GERD and weird stuff in my stomach. And so I was just out to the world, and Eric's wheeling me down the wheelchair. I'm like literally just looking at the stuff go by, like, and so he had to go back to work. So he puts me on the couch, and he's like, "Are you hungry? You okay?" I was like, "I want a snack." So he hands me a banana, and I just remember having the banana in my hand, and that's all I remember. And when I wake up, I'm face down, butt up, my pants are down around my
Was
ankles.
it a banana?
The banana was gone. I was really confused.
That was going in a completely different direction. I was like, what's
It was
going
the
on?
weirdest thing. I'm just like, what the heck? And then I finally started like, okay, I ate the banana. I just didn't remember, and I was trying to like get my clothes off because I wanted my pajamas on, but I
Yeah.
didn't get that far. Like, all right, we're good. We're good.
That's awesome.
Alrighty.
Let's get talking
Yep.
about what are we talking about? I got sidetracked with all the colonoscopy talk. Welcome everyone back to another spooktacular-ish episode of the Saturday Morning Beefcast, another Halloween-ish episode.
We are your Halloweenies.
We're going to be talking about the two-parter G.I. Joe original series, No Place Like Springfield. We kind of fell on this episode. It's not the most Halloween-y episode that we've talked about, but
crazy and scary.
But it's just so crazy and creepy, and I don't know. It's whenever I think of like 80s cartoons, other than your typical like Garfield and your Charlie Browns, and it's like I always come back to this for some reason. I don't know why. It's just always been so creepy. But
of like all the scary like Halloween movies that America made that are not Halloween movies, like Nightmare on Elm Street isn't a Halloween movie, but it's a slasher, crazy, scary movie. So you think Halloween. That's how I think of this as a Halloween. This, for anyone that doesn't know, of the original 55, I think, episodes of the original just G.I. Joe run that wasn't the little mini shots that they did.
Yeah.
This is the last two. And I am fairly certain they got to the last two episodes and went, they can't cancel us now. Do whatever you want to do.
I remember you saying that.
And now I don't know that for a fact, but that's what it feels like to me. So you get to this episode and you're watching it and you're like, what is happening? Like when I was a little kid, seeing it for the first time on TV, my mouth was hanging open. Even for G.I. Joe, this went in a direction you weren't used to. I was like, what is happening?
It's so good. Before we get too far, just want to do introductions. Again, my name is Jay with Retropop Gaming. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and right here on the podcast show. And my ghost hosts are
Eric and Lashida Whalen from Super Secret Project X. We are in that long period of, I swear to God, we're getting stuff done. And we are. But as it turns out, it just takes too long. So we're going to be here being your dancing clowns for a while, and then eventually stuff will show up.
We're doing this. We're doing this, and right now, we're pretty consistent here, so that's always good. So, but yeah. So back to this episode. It's a great slow burn, which I really enjoyed. Like the first. There's two parts. There's two like 20-minute episodes, and the first episode I was real surprised. It's a nice little slow burn. It kind of gets you into feeling like, oh, what's going on, and then it really hits you. That second episode really hits you because it does end in a little cliffhanger at the first one, and then leads into the rest of the story.
Like
it's really
the
good.
First episode is you're right on the slow burn because usually on a lot of shows, you sort of get to see the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
This one, you just start at night on a deserted island, and Shipwreck and Lady J. And for those, and I realize there's people out there that you may not know the show too well or the toy line. They come up on the beach on a shark, which is like a flying G.I. Joe submarine, which is so clearly a toy.
Oh, yeah, it looks just like a piece of plastic.
Yeah, so clearly a toy. So they slide up on the beach, and they're all wearing their scuba gear and stuff, and it's Shipwreck and Lady J, and they're looking for an escaped mad scientist. Already, this just tickles me because it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not that I think G.I. Joe is the greatest show. I grew up with it. I like it. But a lot of episodes, they kind of did dumb stuff. But every
Yeah.
once in a while, they had really good stuff. And this is
Yeah.
that moment where I'm like, oh, somebody's doing something really fun. And so they
Yeah.
have to go look for the mad scientist. And they find him. And he is, if I was an old, crazy mad scientist, I'd want to be this guy. He's
He's
bonkers.
perfect. He
He's
is
so good.
perfect. He is a beautiful specimen of what, your mad scientist. I mean, he's disheveled. He's got the long white hair and beard. He's got the lab coat that's all torn and tattered. Looks like he just got done turning into a werewolf back into a human kind of thing going
Crazy
on.
eyes that looks like you've seen lots of stuff.
It's like they didn't pay. It's like the animation budget on the characters themselves wasn't that great, but they like just threw a couple bucks at somebody to animate this poor scientist because his face is just all over the place.
But the impression you get of him, of like the sagging eye bags and the scrawny, long, crazy face, and the voice actor sells it.
Oh gosh, he does.
You have to save me, G.I. Joe! I mean, he's just so nutty. I love him.
It's like, you have to recite the formula. So
Okay.
good.
And I have to say, of all of the Cobra plots, this is the one where I went, oh my God, they were going to what?
Mhm.
This dude created a formula to turn water into a high explosive. This could theoretically turn the ocean into the biggest nuclear bomb ever made.
Mhm.
I mean, really, I sat there going like, that's good. That is so good. You could turn a river into a bomb, a lake. And he's like, and I gave them the ability to turn water into a high explosive. But I didn't give them the formula, and I'm hiding a secret ingredient. And I'm like, you have me. The show has me at this point.
Of course, my nerdy self is just like, why don't they just get like a bunch of magnesium that reacts with water? Really, it's really high volatile. Wait a minute.
But not like this. This is nuclear level threat explosive.
Exactly.
And he's like, they have the formula, but one secret ingredient. And this is where the plot goes crazy.
It just goes insane. Cause like, and out of nowhere, the scientist just takes this little black flat like plunger device and just smacks Shipwreck in the head with it and like electrocutes his freaking brain, like out of nowhere. Like not like, hey, this is what would be a good idea if we could do this really quick. No, just stonk right into his forehead, zaps the crap out of him. Lady J's like, what the
Dude,
dude, what's going on?
And what I love is, dude, what did you just do? Which is not how he said it, but
Right.
and he's like, I put it into the subconscious of his mind. And Lady J's like, yeah, okay, what? And Shipwreck's like, I don't remember it. You need the secret password. And he whispers it to Lady J. And this is when Cobra basically attacks.
Yes.
And it's at this moment where and I actually like this. This is actually a solid plot, basically, for any kind of a really good, solid spy thriller movie. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a solid plot device. I love this.
It's really good. Now I want to talk a little bit about that, and this happens again later, and this is so great. One thing when you watch G.I. Joe, especially the first original series, is you're going to find a lot of mistakes, which I love to see, animation mistakes. So at one point, the mad scientist is talking, But you see Lady Jane's mouth moving to what the scientist is saying,
Yeah.
which is just so great. And the campfire that they're sitting around just happens to be like hopping from side to side for no reason, like the entire campfire. I love seeing those little things. There wasn't like a lot in this episode like I've seen in some other ones, maybe because this was like the the season finale, big two-parter. They had a little bit more of a budget, but little things like that, I just thought, I just love pointing those little things out. It's so great.
Oh, absolutely. Because I noticed that also, and it was the professor that was speaking, and so
Hmm.
I was just like, wait a minute. I was like, did he just like throw his voice at her or something? Because
I have mind control powers.
and she's, I mean, I in my head, I'm like, in my head, she's like mouthing, "What the?"
Yeah.
Like and they just edited it out because there's so many edits that they had to do for the TV version.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now here's a moment that doesn't normally happen
He
in
looks upside
GI
down.
Joe. What?
So he looks upside down.
A bit. This is a moment that doesn't normally happen in GI Joe, which actually raised the stakes again. When they were attacked, a missile came in, knocked the tree down, pinned the mad scientist.
Yeah.
Lady J was like, "Oh!" and turns around. We gotta go help the scientist, and
Right.
lasers are coming down in between them and the down scientist, and they're like, "Oh well, oh crap!" And so they're under fire. Lady J, which I'm just saying, this is how bad G.I. Joe is, how badass. She knocks this enemy fighter down with a singular bolt from her crossbow. I mean, honestly, everyone now, golf clap.
That was good.
Very nicely.
That was in my notes. So she just shoots this highly sophisticated Cobra flying little death machine and just shoots it right in the wing, and then it just explodes.
I mean, last we were watching, I was just like, you know what? That's one heck of a GI Joe arrow, man. It's like that took some stuff out. Holy crap!
To be fair, now they always did show a lot of their arrows and stuff being like explosive tipped. So this clearly was not just some bolt in a crossbow. This was
that's government GI Joe arrows right there.
It's military grade, blow them up, crossbow bolt. So I'm good with it. It's just still the thing just went to pieces. So that's either showing how bad a Cobra's equipment is, or how badass GI Joe's equipment is. I'm going with the GI Joe part because I like Cobra too much to just say their equipment is garbage.
Right. Oh, so they're getting so they're still trying to escape the island. Lady J takes out that plane, and they're still trying to escape. And I just love that Lady J is like, picks up them scientists. She's like, "Hey, can you walk?" He's like, "My leg." And she's like, "Well, if you can at least kind of hobble, can you help me out here a little bit?" And he's like, "No." Basically just like, "No, I can't." She's like, "Okay, then let's try and get out of here." He's like so unhelpful.
Now let's give G.I. Joe the writers some credit here. And they did do the whole saving the girl thing a couple times on the show, but most of the time, this is Lady J. They didn't have Shipwreck go, "I'm going to carry the dude." They didn't have the old guy go, "Maybe the big strong guy could carry me." No, they had Lady J walk up and go, "I'm doing this," and there was no hint in the show at all that she wasn't enough.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I liked G.I. Joe as a kid, because I liked strong female characters as a kid.
Yeah.
And so it's Lady J pulling her own weight, being like, "Come on, you frail old goofbag. Let's get going.
Get out of here.
Plot injured leg."
So, to be fair, they had to get her and this professor out of the scene so they could put Shipwreck by himself for this next whole dealio and stuff. So
there's a whole bit where they kind of get lost in smoke for a little bit, and they're trying to find the beach, and he's like, "Well, where's the beach?" It's I thought it was much closer, and
it didn't seem this far last time.
They're trying to build things up as best as they can for kids, and it's at this point in time it's like, "All right, you're okay. You probably need some help with the old goof bag." Yeah. So he kind of tries to help to save him, and then another missile comes, and he's like, "Nope, Lady J, you got to carry the old guy again." And they just kind of dive for cover.
I love how these missiles, and when we think about missiles in general, like real life missiles, they blow up like city blocks and stuff, and they're just getting missiled 6 feet away and just kind of falling over.
And I think you just spotted it too, right?
No, I spotted something way earlier. We're looking through the thing as we're talking here. When he was in the fog, I thought I saw a shadow of Tamat and Zay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Zaymat.
Yes, and Zaymat in the fog.
I think you're seeing things.
No,
I
that like I said, it was like super like blared. So that's why I was like, what the heck was that? That's why I was like, wait a minute.
Well, let's go. I mean, I don't remember seeing that, but like I'm like perfect or whatever. So let me.
Like, well, that's like an animation. See?
Okay, I think what you're seeing is an animation, kind of, or there's literally a ghosted image of Tomax in the background. So
it's animation, but that's
or Zaymot, which I don't remember.
Yeah, see, there they are, right there. See, there they are. I
think that's an animation.
Oh, it absolutely is. I just didn't notice that before because I was like, what the heck is that doing back there?
What is that?
Oh, that's interesting.
Really
yeah.
All right.
Animation mistake.
Animation mistake. I'm not even sure what that is. That's really weird.
That's weird because I'm like watching that too. I didn't see anything. But
it may be because we're watching it on we have it up on.
This could be an electrical thing with like the
Well, it could be this Tubi's copy, and then I'm watching it on the one site that we usually do. So yeah, maybe it was like something because I didn't see it on this side.
Now I gotta ask if you guys figured this out because I didn't. Okay. Lady J dives with the old coot.
Mm-hmm.
Shipwreck and the parrot goes the other way.
Right.
They like all recover. It's awesome and stuff. And then they get up. Where's the mad scientist? Where did he go?
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Let's see that when we watched it.
Yeah, because now when Lady J gets up, the mad scientist is gone.
Mm-hmm. Was he really there?
Oh, I think he was really there. I just can't for the life of me remember. Did he run off? Where did he go? I can't remember. He's just gone now.
Yeah, he just got lost. I mean, he does, spoilers, we find him later, but like at this point it's just like so then you're almost thinking like maybe he was still working with Cobra.
I mean, yeah, it's weird. He's just suddenly very well gone.
Could be. Yeah, and he's just out of here.
Yeah, it's weird. And I know that they had to basically have the Joes leave him.
Right.
So it's just kind of odd that the Joes look at each other and go like, the Furk? Like, oh, we gotta go, bro.
Where is he? I don't know. Let's get the heck out of Dodge.
Basically, yeah.
And can we talk just 1 second about the fact that, okay, so Shipwreck has this lovely mustache goatee thing going on, but his lip area is a completely different shade of his flesh than the rest of his face.
Yeah, because the
almost the entire time.
Every
time he talks, I'm just like, oh my goodness. But does anybody else love Polly?
No.
I either love Polly or I hate Polly. I usually hate Polly. Every once in a while, I love the bird, but most of the time he irritates me. He's Scrappy Doo to me.
Because the first thing in this episode, Shipwreck and Lady J are trying to sneak up, on this island, and the first thing you hear is squawk. Let's go get him, squawk. And Shipwreck addresses it. He's like, "Shut the frick up, you dumb bird!" But it's like, why did you bring him in the first place?
The Scrappy Doo of G.I. Joe. Yeah.
If I could punch an animation cell, that's one of them. I honestly do not let that bird got on my nerves so bad.
Punch an animation.
Now, the reason why I say I like the bird is because later on in this, there's moments where I liked Polly, but most of the time,
right. And now I can't remember the next guy that shows up because they do make it back to their little craft and they get in the water and they're like or they're flying away. And then we see, I guess he's leading another squadron of flying Cobra airplanes. Is this Pirate Cobra? Pirate Cobra guy? I forgot to go look up his name.
That's Dr. Blood.
I'm
sorry, because
that's Baron.
Baron, yeah, because I watched it. I was like, wait a minute, yeah, it's
Baron Blood.
No,
Corporal.
My because I said it last night.
Major Blood. Major Blood.
Yeah, Major Blood. Oh, okay.
Major Blood. Yeah.
Okay. Side note: check our sound real quick. I'm not seeing our sound making any marks on the line.
I am seeing yours. This happened to me the last podcast I did, and it was totally fine. So we're
Okay.
good.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yep,
I
we'll be
just
good.
wanted to make sure. Let's go back.
Yep. I can hear you. I can see lines. We're
Good.
good.
Okay.
So
I
yeah,
hate
we
it
have
when
this.
I can't remember names of characters.
I know I had to do some looking up, and I do have like from here on. I went in like, okay, I got to type in these actual names, not like the pirate Cobra guy.
Of course, it's Major Blood. That's what happens when you get old.
Which is funny because when we were watching it, he's like one of the few characters I actually remember, and I'm like, oh, that's Major Blood. I don't know why that character stuck in my head more than anybody else, but it's like, oh yeah,
Major Jerk.
Major jerk. I love it. So this Major Blood, I just love it. He's got this eye patch. He's got the little pirate mustache going on. I just love it. I just love it. It's such a great design. I wish we would have got more of him in this, but so we're just getting this awesome battle scene because they Lady J and Shipwreck get fly back to the flag, which is G.I. Joe's gigantic aircraft carrier,
that
and
you
we
two
just get
can
this.
own for about $200.
Yeah.
It's like, or 200. It was a lot. It was like a 7-foot toy.
Oh my gosh, that's original suggested market retail price, but now it's probably like $2,000 at least.
I actually saw one of those at a garage sale once.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, and it is absolutely the biggest toy you have ever seen.
It's got to be enormous.
And the thing was, is I saw it back in the early 90s when I was like on my paper route.
Yeah.
Oh no, late 80s when I was on my paper route. Somebody had it in their garage sale, and it was an entire table at a garage sale. That is a big toy.
Can I put a pin in that for a second? You had a paper route?
Yeah.
When he was a kid, yeah.
Whoa.
I've literally been working since I was 13.
But did you have like a bike?
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
I did I was literally got up like 5 a.m. at night in northern Michigan during snowstorms.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's how I could afford to be such a nerd, is because when I was young, I was making like $25 a week, so I could go and get my role playing and my anime and play my go to the pizza joint every Saturday and go play video games in their arcade and stuff. And yeah, no, I've been a professional full blown nerd for a long time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I literally have been working since I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
My brothers, they both had paper routes, and I would help them fold papers and stuff and roll them up and put the rubber bands on them and all that. I remember the ink stains on my hand. I still remember the smell.
Seriously?
That's awesome.
Every day after school, I would be doing the paper roll.
Yeah.
And the theme song, too, would be, "You too, gumshoe." I put the rubber bands and stuff. And seriously, I was that like northern Michigan Disney watching white kid delivering newspapers. That was me. Yeah.
And for you listeners who might be a little too young to know what song he was singing there a little bit, it's the theme song to Rescue Rangers.
And I'm certain it was also all the others too, but that was the first.
You too. Okay, back to the episode.
I
love getting
which
sidetracked.
is exactly the right time period of this. I was watching G.I. Joe at the same time.
Right.
So,
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
But yeah, no, this was one of those scenes where usually in G.I. Joe, there's kind of an okay battle, blah, blah, blah. This one is really cool because the Cobras come in and they're like, "Oh crap, the flag!" And G.I. Joe was like, "Open up!" And like all this stuff goes off and they're like flying everywhere trying to kind of get away. And all the Joes are trying to do is get them to land on the flag while Cobra's freaking out. It's not the greatest ever. Like everyone today is so used to like the anime like fights that are over the top and great. But for the time, this was pretty good.
The explosions and stuff are really nice. I enjoyed it. But I do like that, like at first they're just like, "Oh crap," and then they come in with like Cobra comes in with more planes, and then it's just a free for all, and it's lovely.
I was like, why didn't they just land? They would have avoided it. They just would have landed on the. And I was like,
they could have, but they didn't, and they needed to stretch the scene out a little bit.
They try, we have to land. They had to talk about it for about 20 minutes before actually landing. it's so good. Um. Oh,
Uh-oh.
lost.
Okay,
I
I
Oh,
think.
you're
Wait,
back.
wait, 1 second. I'm
No,
going
we
to
can hear
test
you.
something.
Okay, I hear you now.
Okay, I hit the space bar on this, and it's auto mute because I used the space bar to pause and unpause the video.
Oh,
Wow. Okay, do we need to repeat anything there?
lesson learned. Um, I would. I don't know. I saw Lashida talking, so I guess whatever you were talking about, you could
Oh,
Lashida, go.
okay. What
go.
was I saying? Oh crap. Oh wait. Okay. I was talking about the cannon fire and stuff, and the lasers coming through. And I was saying it's funny because there's a scene with Lady J and Shipwreck in their flyer, and as the lasers are fired, you just see these bright pulses of flash, 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 and it's literally like, oh, what the heck, like strobe effect.
Yeah.
And I was laughing because I'm like, wait a minute, how in the world did the Pokemon people get? Well, like people get angry at Pokemon for the flashing lights, and we survived this.
Okay, now I gotta say this because I've experienced this on some classic anime and stuff that I've gotten,
Mhm.
and I've got it on this too. These shows I don't think were designed to be shown on a Bravia 64-inch.
No.
Because like on this screen that we're looking at right now, these flashes are like whoa, 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 like roughly what I remember from the 80s.
But on
Mhm.
here though, on my side, it's super pulsing.
But that's what I'm saying is you have a new screen there, and we were
Oh.
watching on a Bravia, and I was watching the new Blu-ray of Project A-ko, and it did it to me there too.
Oh.
Where it is flashing like freaking lightning, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, we had shots in this episode where GI Joe was blazing my retinas, and I'm going like, oh crap! Like I'm like legitimately.
That's the subliminal messaging that they're implanting into your brain to go buy the toys and the flag.
I suddenly I feel like picking up that new Destro figure. You know, like,
Yes.
oh, they even sell those anymore? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
See?
Gotta go to Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh,
see?
yeah. No, it's. I think there's something with the
Mhm.
way they did stuff in the old school that now that it's on new screens, you're just getting punched in the eye socket with light.
Oh.
Yeah, because she just played it again, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
she's right. That's really bright. Warning everyone at home, you might have an epileptic seizure while watching this.
You watch this, yes.
Either that or a sudden like craving just to like buy fruit snacks or something. I don't know.
So they're having this fight, and I love. We see what's his name? Hold on, Roadblock. We see Roadblock for just like a hot minute, and I didn't realize
It was one of my favorites. I love.
Yeah, I love his voice actor, and he rhymes.
He's so great. He is
didn't know he
really
rhymed.
80s kind of black exploitation stereotype of the big rhyming black guy.
Which
Yeah.
is reasons why I just could not get with him, man, because he was such a stereotype. I'm like, I know he was loved
I
by.
still love him.
Yeah, he
though.
was loved by many people, and y'all have the right to love him. But as a black person, I'm just like, wow, man, can we just stop the scat rhyming, please?
You know, you got to keep in mind.
Y'all ain't shucking and jiving, man.
I hear you. I agree. But all I gotta say is as a little white kid and I lived out in the country when I was very young. Out in the country with a vastly white community, and my only access to a lot of other cultures and races and stuff honestly was cartoons, TV shows and stuff. And I gotta say, I loved Roadblock. I really did. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm like, I think that it worked. I think having the big macho rhyming black guy with the machine gun got me to be like, I like black people. I don't know. I think they all rhyme, which doesn't make sense, but I sure don't. You know?
Which is the reason why, like, his character overall, I liked his character overall. Just the whole, if they just stopped him with the rhyming,
I
would have been like, yeah, that's cool. But man, it's like for him talking, like oh crap, him going all Dolomite was just kind of like I like Dolomite for what Dolomite was. I didn't want to see Dolomite in my show.
To be fair, this is the same character that delivered the line, "For without a doubt, I turn your eyeballs inside out." I gotta say, is one of the most badass lines I've ever heard on a cartoon.
Turn your
American,
inside.
Japanese, old, new, don't care. "Without a doubt, I turn your eyeballs inside out" is one of the greatest lines, period, I have ever heard.
And to me, that line would have been made even more important and even more awesome if he wouldn't have been rhyming all the time. If he would have like rhymed that for like that one time,
Oh, like just
that would
that,
have
and
been
then
hilarious. That would have been great.
"Turn your eyeballs inside
Or
out."
maybe
God,
like
I
he,
love him.
or maybe he like he talks every once in a while he'll like do a rhyme or something like that. But they have him just like 70s old school, just like I said, like Dolomite or something. I'm just like,
We're gonna have to
When
just expand this one, huh? I love Roadblock.
yeah, like I said,
when
you,
he
you absolutely do so.
when we first see him, he says something, and I didn't catch a rhyme. Like I just heard him talking, and I was like,
And he
yeah,
didn't
Roblox.
always do it.
And then
They just try to get it in there as much as possible.
yeah, and then later I heard him rhyme. I was like, oh, I didn't know like that was a thing he did, but
It is. It's that they did that as often as they could, and quite often it
Oh.
actually for me worked. So, but I also
So-
like cheese. So
I also like cheese. So we're getting this great battle scene, and Lady J and Shipwreck kind of like land in the water, and they try to climb up a ladder on the side of the aircraft carrier, and Shipwreck falls back into the craft. The door shuts and locks him in as it starts to sink.
this
And
horrified me
It-
as a little kid.
I know,
And
right? Because
as an adult, I had to say it was a little anxiety inducing. This was really like I went, "This is actually horrifying. This is really actually." Now I wasn't having like a deep reaction, but I was going like, "This is really disconcerting. This really would make people uncomfortable."
yeah, because the top of the
Canopy.
canopy is like cracked. There's like water coming in. It's like up to his neck, and it's like going down and coming back up and bobbing. They're like, we gotta get him out of there before it sinks. And
Like,
he's just
they're
like, open,
really
darn you!
They're really showing his air disappearing.
Yeah,
I mean, good job.
yeah, it's
Good job.
freaking freaky. Oh, so it ends up. So a ship does end up going down underwater, and it's just, and of course it cuts to like, G.I. Joe will be back after these messages, and you're like, no.
I mean, it's again. This is me speaking from a particular perspective because I know the world has changed, but there was a period where after this, where in the '90s, everything got too safe, with the exception of like Batman the animated series and like little specific things.
Yeah.
But overall, everything got too safe, and it's because I went from stuff like this and things got too safe that I went to what the Japanese were producing because Eric needs more meat on his plate than taking things too safely, you know?
Right.
And I am so glad that we're getting back into like this dangerous stuff again in animation because this moment when I was a kid, I mean, I was a nerdy, lonely little kid without a whole lot of friends. This was action adventure.
Yeah.
This was like, oh my God, Mom, they're going to kill one of them. You know, like, I was like, holy crap, you know?
Well, I thought the scientist guy was going to die at one because I knew he couldn't just be around, and he got trapped under that tree, and all these missiles are flying everywhere. I'm like, he's gonna die. I'm like, oh, crap.
And we followed it up with, by the way, in this sequence is one of my favorite secondary scenes. The camera goes over, shows the Joe's fighters on fire. One guy jumps out of a cockpit and screams, "They hit the fighters, they're gonna blow!" And I'm like, oh my God! And there's like dudes running for cover, and boom, the fighters explode. And I'm like, more. Give me more.
They went all out. It's so great.
And what dresses up Shipwreck going down and running out of air and beating on the glass, fiery chunks of fighter is raining down around him as he's about to die. I'm going like, I know the animation could have been better.
Yeah.
I know. But I don't care. This is just so good.
And the last thing he sees before he quote unquote drowns in the depths is his bird just flying right above him. Freaking
It's like,
Polly.
It's so good.
F you.
And then they actually show the scene of it going under
Mm-hmm.
and sinking down into the black depths of the ocean.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. No. And this is our turning point. This is where we get really Silent Hill, Jacob's Laddery, Twilight Zone, and this is where one of the reasons why I want to talk about this episode is because it just takes a complete down up diagonal turn. It cuts to like a commercial break, and we come back, and Shipwreck has woken up inside of like a hospital.
Yep.
His head is bandaged up, and we've got a nurse lady taking care of him. And
Nurse, how you doing?
Nurse, hey.
We are the nurses in this ridiculously hot.
Oh, it is a fantasy thing.
Which I just realized after watching the entire thing. I think the nurse is somebody that comes back in the second half.
Yes.
I think that's her.
Yeah, I think that's her. Because who else has that hair?
Well, yeah, Nurse Hot Blonde Rack 'em Up. Yeah,
Nurse Hot Blonde Rack 'em Up.
I'm serious because she came in. I was going like somebody was having fun with the character design.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
So-
I'm trying not to be a mid 40-year-old guy, but I'm like, I was going like, I guess I didn't quite realize what I was watching when I was a little kid. I'm like, that chick is. Like, thank you.
Thank you. And whoa, that animation frame is way off. His shoulder looks like it's about to leave his body. That's kind of weird looking. So the nurse, wakes him up, and he's like, "What's going on?" And the nurse explains "Oh, well, your family's here," and he's like, "What? Yeah, your wife and daughter." Excuse me. So this woman walks in who happens, and I had to look this up. It's Mara.
Yeah, I can actually fill you in on this one.
I did a little bit of research. Apparently, Mara is an ex-Cobra agent who they injected with fish DNA so that she could breathe underwater.
Okay, just so you know, if you want to see more good G.I. Joe episodes, those are amongst some of the better ones. There is this great storyline of Shipwreck basically saving an enemy mergirl.
Yeah.
And them capturing her. And as it turns out, she's a botched Cobra experiment to create underwater Cobra troopers.
It's insane.
And it was a really good episode. So he falls in love with a Cobra agent, and she figures out that she's on the wrong side.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, she swims off in the ocean because she doesn't belong anywhere.
Right.
And Shipwreck is all like jonesing for his long lost fish girl love.
Wow.
And then they bring her back here. And, and when I was as a kid, I was like, oh my God, it's her. They're continuing her storyline.
And I think that's so great. But
yeah.
How would Cobra know that would be somebody that would pull at his heartstrings?
If I recall correctly, there was a story where in the story she helped him escape, and I believe she couldn't go back to Cobra even if she wanted to, if I recall correctly. Mm-hmm. So if I remember right, they do know about her.
Okay.
And they do know there was a connection between them.
There was a connection there. Okay. Because otherwise I'm like, why would they just pick this random, this not random, this specific person to, play his wife. So he's like, Mara, he's like, you're not, because she was blue when she was a fish person. She's like, you're not blue anymore and you're breathing air. What's going on?
So if you watch the whole series, that scene completely made sense.
Okay. Yeah.
I was still having questions of wait a minute, how did he have a kid? And I was like, okay.
Well, you see, when a man and a woman
Go on. You just said it's coward.
Finish it.
and a sailor, full mast, wind blowing. Come on, do we really have to go?
Children, leave the room. This is for adults.
Do it, coward.
Yo ho ho, mermaid ahoy.
These fish be swimming.
Polly had to go in the other room. Come on.
Polly had to go in the other room.
But
All
anyway,
right, getting it on. All right, getting it on.
Get her, Swabby, get her.
Swab them decks.
Rock, blow out her back, Rock.
Stupid bird.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's reel that back in a little bit.
Reel it in, mermaid.
So Shipwreck is freaking out about this, about being married to Mara and having a daughter, and she explains to him that he has been in a coma for something happened to him.
He fell off a ladder trying to install a satellite dish.
That's right. I knew I was missing something. Yep. So like that's their explanation for him, like, quote unquote, losing his memory, because it had apparently been 6 years since what happened on the flag.
Yes.
So we get that nice little explanation, and I think at this point they just the doctor comes in and says, well, he's there's really nothing wrong with him. You can take him home. So Mara and did the daughter have a name? I didn't quite.
It was a strange name.
Althea.
Althea.
I'll see you later.
What an odd name to pick, but
I've heard people with that name before.
No, it's just you kind of figured that would be like Jenny or something easy for kids to remember,
especially for the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep calling the daughter because I'm not gonna remember that name.
But like ridiculously adorable girl, right?
Yes.
Like they could not have made her cuter, right?
Daddy.
Like she's a Sailor Moon character. I mean,
basically.
She's wearing the same outfit as the one porcupine girl from Get Along Game.
You're right. Holy cow! How did you? Wow! Like my brain makes things like that too sometimes, but man, that's a deep cut.
I'm good for weird stuff like that.
Yeah! Oh my gosh! Look at that! Yes! Holy crapola!
Even down to the bows in the hair and stuff,
It is. Oh my Lanta! The both of oh my gosh! That's what they were totally doing.
Nice.
That's great. So they end up going home, and this is what I want, because it's just so left turn, because you don't know, like, you really don't know what's going on. There's no little kid like, okay, we're gonna make this really easy to figure out. Like, we don't know what's going on. He looks in the mirror, he's like, my beard is gray, and it's just it makes sense. And there's really nothing, at least at the beginning of this transition to where Springfield, which is the town he wakes up in.
May I just interject that this was the most 80s car ride ever, because you have the dad sitting in the front, or him sitting in the front with the little girl riding on his lap with no seatbelts whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
I remember doing that exact same thing as a kid, like sitting up front with like one of the adults and having them on, like, I was sitting on their lap. We had no seatbelts on.
Yep. Mom always said that I would just sit in the back, because we had like a little station wagon, and I would hang out in the back just farting around with no seatbelt, or not even sitting in a seat, just farting around in the way back.
Oh man! Oh, my favorite was riding. It was visiting my family and riding on I-94 in the back of a pickup truck with like 6 or 7 other kids.
That's fun too. Not on the highway.
Yes,
but
it was that. Yep.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, when we got to the place that we were going to, my aunt giving us all a little tablet of aspirin to take because she didn't want us to get sick from the air.
There you go.
But anyway, sorry, back to the
What is that that tablet you can take airborne when
Oh
you go
yeah.
on planes or something like that?
Oh yeah.
So we're back home, and he's just he doesn't know what's going on, which I don't blame the poor guy. It just everything seems like a great dream to him. He's married to this uh, previous fish woman that he loved, and he's got this adorable little Sailor Moon daughter, and then
And his freaking parrot's back.
and his freaking parrot is back.
Like after all that, he shoos him off and like he gets mad at him.
Hey, get out of here, Polly.
Stupid
Polly
parrot.
gets no crackers. um Scarlett shows up in a car to take Mara and the daughter shopping, I think,
Yes.
to go get groceries, something like that. And she's got, for some reason, I don't know why they wrote this in and made a point to like actually point it out, but like her crossbow is like the hood ornament on her car. Like, I'm like, that's cool, but like, why did they need to like go the extra mile to like point that out? Like, it was like,
This
your
is what
crossbow, yeah, it was your idea, blah blah blah.
That
What?
was her signature weapon, and she's no longer using it, so it has to go somewhere. And plus, it makes merging in the traffic a lot easier, probably.
Merging.
Dunk.
See that in your rear
Merging.
view window. Crap. Rear view mirror. Crap. So so they take off, and he's home alone with Polly, and he decides to lay on the couch and take a nap, and he's like, maybe if I wake up, this will all make more sense. And he goes to sleep, and then Polly comes in and turns on the lamp next to his couch, and it starts flashing and making a weird noise, and he just starts having a crazy seizure, and he falls over. And how does he get to the hospital?
An
Because like
ambulance.
there's nobody home.
An ambulance literally shows up out of
Just
nowhere.
yeah, it just shows up.
And then the two dudes just come in, put him on a gurney, and Polly's just watching him go out. As a kid, I was like, what is happening? I mean, it's really weird. It's really great.
And I gotta say, for like that one split second, they showed the guys carrying him off. There's one dude that probably has some of the freshest kicks wearing. His gym shoes are freaking fly, man. They're like these blue and white. I'm like, dude.
Oh snap! Oh, I want some of that. What's going on
I
there?
was like, dude, got some nice kicks, bro.
Are those Reeboks? Those look like Reeboks.
And that
I swear that's a Reebok.
I
I
like
swear
gear,
that's a
man.
Reebok.
Yeah. Now,
The detail in the shoes, that's great.
now, the clever thing about this is they show the ambulance go right by the hospital
Oh yeah.
and then go right into a car wash, and you're like, what? And then on the inside of the car wash, the floor drops out and it drives down into a secret underground facility.
Gesundheit.
It's great. It's great. I just love it.
It's perfect. They go into the Cobra wash. I just love the Cobra wash. So it goes down into this secret layer, and you're still you're wondering like what the heck is going on. The two guys have him on the little gurney, and they carry him in, and they just like flop him over onto this like operating table that's inside this big metal room. And then Cobra Commander just shows up with a huge laser pistol in his face. Give me the code, the secret formula! And it's just like, what the hell is going on?
And he's pointing it at his face.
In his face.
And
In his face.
the shot following is Cobra Commander from Shipwreck's point of view, and the gun is pointing right at the kids in the audience. It is so cool.
And then he pulls the trigger. You think he just blasted him away. And, I'd be freaking out. That's just, it looks like, he's pointing it right at the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I love a great reflection of Shipwreck right in Cobra Commander's mask. I just love that. And then Shipwreck wakes up back at home. Looks like he had fallen off a couch, and Mara runs in. Oh, you okay? And he's like, frick, no, I'm not okay.
I'm tripping balls over here.
I'm tripping balls over
Something's wrong, Mara. I'm tripping balls.
Oh, yeah. You just did that. I want to put another pin in this. I love Shipwreck's voice actor.
I know, he's so good.
He's so great. He sounds like a great Jack Nicholson a little bit. He's got a little
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson to him. I
he's
just
got a
love
little bit
him.
of that quality to him.
Jack Nicholson with a little bit of Paul Lynde thrown in.
Yeah, it's great. You did that. I was like, oh, that's in my notes somewhere.
Cobra's
Oh.
just a bunch of savages.
Oh my goodness. So he's back home, and things seem to be back to normal. I guess it was just like a fever dream or something, maybe, because he hit his head. We don't know. The only clue we really have is, that Polly had turned this weird light on and that the ambulance just showed up out of nowhere. But things seem to be back to normal. Um, they have dinner. He goes to put his daughter to bed. And I just love that his daughter is like, saying her little good nights next to her bed, and she's like, please bless mommy and bless daddy and bless the president of the United States for some odd reason. And then she's like, and bless stupid. And I'm just like, I paused it and I was like, who the heck is stupid? And then as soon as you hit play after that, Shipwreck's like, who's stupid? And I'm like, me apparently, because I don't know what the heck this is. And she's got this goofy looking, way too happy, like little stuffed cat doll that is just horrendous.
Okay.
It's just horrendous.
I gotta point this out again because I can't think of any. This is the last time I remember seeing an American animated character praying.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that. I'm not trying to make it like a social or political point. I'm just saying,
Right.
when was the last time I saw that? This is like the last time I remember somebody going on an American show going like, yeah, there's a kid praying and there's her dad and and bless mommy and bless, and I just kind of went, huh, that just sort of kind of disappeared after this moment. Like, I'm not saying it has to or doesn't have to. I'm just saying it just kind of stopped happening.
Right. Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I don't think I mean, what was that book? I think they made an animated series, The Critters or whatever. I think. Um.
What, Capital Critters?
Not Capital Critters. It was the Baron, not the Berenstein Bears. Anyway, forget it. My brain's too farted up. I'm freaking old and I can't remember things like I wish I could. But anyway, but yeah, now that you mentioned that, I can't think of any time either. That's something you don't see very often.
I have one, and I'm trying to remember what the cartoon is, but I remember seeing one scene where there was a character who was praying, and then when they finish praying, they get into the bed, and then they go, oh, and they get out of bed, get on their knees, and go, oh, amen, and then they crawl back into bed again.
I remember that. I don't remember what it is.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, what was that?
This time period was kind of the end of that. And again, I'm not saying good or bad necessarily, just like, it's what I kind of like about this episode. It's just filled with kind of normal things that normal people do.
Yeah.
And you don't,
normal.
but from this time period is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Quote unquote normal. And you were seeing adults wearing just adult clothes, and then there's just a normal scene with a dad and her, and tucking the kid in, the kid's, saying goodnight and praying and stuff. And there was just a lot of like normal things, which is, I think, one of the things that added to the whole, when it got super strange.
Yeah.
Like cemented you in sort of at least it's this part of America. I know not everyone was like that. That's fine. But it was just here's just your normal, here's a military family, blah, blah, blah. And oh, by the way, here comes the crazy bat crap moments. And
oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Oh my God. It is coming hard.
It has taken a left turn and it's about to turn back around and go a different direction in a minute. It's about to go up. So for the second time,
crazy in 3D.
It's in 3D. So Shipwreck's on the couch with Mara, and they're still talking like, I don't know what's going on. This still doesn't feel real. And he drinks some coffee, and again, like within like 2 seconds, he's passed out. And this would get like an actual, what looks like what would be like a dream state. Everything is like really blurry. He's kind of like dreaming about being back in the ambulance and driving and being, strapped to another table. And you've got you've got Destro, and you've got the Baroness, and you've got Tomax and Zaymont, and Cobra Commander just like above him, like in his face. Give us the formula. They want that formula. Right? Maybe they have a lot of babies to feed. I don't know, but sorry, bad joke. Bad joke.
I'm just trying to imagine a Cobra nursery.
Cobra's nursing.
And
again,
they're very progressive.
yeah, exactly. But again, he wakes up from that, and it's just like another dream again. So we're not sure if is this really happening? Is it not? We're not sure. And then so he wakes back up, and Mara's like, well, you got to go to work. And he's like, where do I work?
Where do I even work?
Or I think she said that first. He's like, where do I even work? And then he drank the coffee and passed out. Mm-hmm. But regardless, so he's walking to work. I guess he doesn't have a vehicle. He doesn't have his own car.
Well, he is a vet. It's not like the United States government's going to pay for things.
No respect.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's not like they take care of these guys.
Not arguing with you.
Including G.I. Joe. I mean,
they got the money for that gigantic, flagship, but he can't have a moped. Anyway, so he's walking to work, and he works at a dock with Torpedo
and
shoot. Is that his name? Torpedo
and the scuba diver.
Deep Six.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Deep Six.
So it's the two aquatic Joes, both the diver and the deep sea diver submarine guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's just this whole aquatic, faction of G.I. Joes.
It's the water
hanging out.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah. And then we find out that was he the leader of the Joes? Shows up with this quote unquote fiance.
He was second in command before Duke. Duke went away, right?
He was. I think Duke was over him, and then it was. So in the original stories, Duke was the main leader guy, and then in the second set, and then they brought in with this series, and Flint came in with Lady J, and they were usually sort of the command, and then Duke would show up every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, they got some guy, I can never remember his name, but yeah, so he was basically one of the major commander guys.
Oh, okay. So yeah, shipwrecks on, they're at this dock, and then Flint shows up with this
17-year-old girlfriend.
Oh my god! Well, she's dressed like a Barbie doll. She's like wearing this pink dress. Like why are they even at the dock? I mean, she looks like she's about to go out to dinner somewhere, and she's dressed up like a baby Barbie doll. It's just really weird, really weird clothing choice here. And Shipwreck makes a joke about like, "Hey, who's this? She's even hotter than Lady J." And then Flint just goes off on him, like pushes him down and takes off. And he's like, "What the heck's going on here?" And then we find out that in this, quote unquote reality, Lady J died on the flagship,
which is really dark for G.I. Joe.
Right.
I mean, they almost never showed any permanent anything for them to actually say one of the Joes died.
Right.
I was like, whoa.
That's cool.
That's awful. Wow. Oh, wowee. That's horrible. No, Lady J.
No. So we find out that Lady J had died, and he's like freaking out. He's like, that can't be right. So he's walking home, and he walks past the car wash. He's like, hey, there's that car wash from my dream. And he sees Roadblock driving a car into the car wash. And he's like, so awesome. He almost gets run over by him. It's just like, what is going on? Doesn't acknowledge him, just flies right past him. And he's like, well, I know, I'll go on the other side and catch him on the other side. So he goes to the other side of the car wash, and Roadblock's car comes out, and it stops. And Roadblock starts talking to Shipwreck. and then begins to melt into a puddle of goo.
His eyeballs fall out of his face.
Yeah.
I was watching the animation again, going like, again, could have been animated better, but still, his eyeballs fall out of his face as he melts. I'm like, that's pretty awesome.
Now, we will say it was, animated for the time, so he had already like lost all color, turned into like some putty before his eyeball, because like if he was still colored and animated, right, like his eyes just coming out, that would be horrific. Even more horrific.
They made the point to show his eyeballs because everything else just kind of fades into like a puddle, but his eyeballs were still visible as they fell. Like they made it a point, and it's like, whoa, that's some
I
nice
remember
horror element of that one.
I remember seeing that for the first time as a kid. I was like, oh my god.
Both eyes just coming out and dripping down, like, just like,
Awesome.
Oh, good. And of course, he's freaking out. He's like, what's going on? He's like banging on the window, and then
like
two guys show up.
A bunch of dudes just grab him out of nowhere.
And one ties him, like puts a tie around him to hold him still. The other one punches him in the stomach, and then goes, call the police. It's like, what the heck?
You just assaulted a guy.
This is so insane. You just hit this point where and when I was a kid, I legitimately was like, what is happening?
What is going on, mommy? So these guys, these thugs were they just were right there as soon as Roadblock pulled out of the car wash. These guys were just there for some reason, and they sock him in the gut, they tie him up, knock him out, and they end up throwing him back into the car wash, and he falls down into this.
He goes to jail.
No, he goes to jail.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. He goes to jail. He goes to he goes to pretend jail.
And there's a prison guard goes like, oh, you're finally up, blah blah blah. Here's a Sammy, and like grabs the sandwich and goes, well, at least you're taking care of my nutritional needs, And, he's like, gonna have myself a Sammy,
a tuna fish sandwich.
He eats it, and then this is what I love: the sheer number of drugs that are in this episode. Is he's clearly drugged, falls over onto the floor, and he falls into the light of the jail cell, and it's the whole like whoa thing again, and then I just love the compartments and stuff. A door opens up and he falls through the floor.
And just lands straight down on his stomach.
Like, dude, broke his neck or something. Like that. That's a good 9-10 feet that he just falls.
And he's unconscious, so he's not protecting himself.
His rib cage would have just been compressed and just snapped several ribs, man.
Okay. Now this is where the drugs start getting real hardcore, right? He gets up, so good, surrounded by his friends in some kind of a death match dungeon.
Yes, it's battle royale.
And Flint attacks him, and he punches out, and Flint turns to goo, and then there's oh my god, he starts taking on all the dudes that are just attacking him, and he's just punching the crap out of them, and they're going down. He's like, oh my god, what is happening? And they're all melting and stuff, and then there's Scarlet sitting there with the crossbow. He's like, I don't want to turn you into goo, Scarlet. I'm good with killing all of my male friends, but I draw the line at killing my female friends. There's that weird 80s logic again. I'm okay with mass male murder, but females, right out.
That's where I draw the line.
That's where I draw the line.
I do like that she's like, don't worry, you won't. Like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
Bring it.
And she's like, I'm going to murder the crap out of you. And you're watching this going like, what is happening?
Yeah. And she's got the crossbow, and she actually tries to shoot him. And I don't know where he gets the superpower, but he just dodges this, this crossbow, and it hits the wall.
I was like, dude's pretty good to dodge a crossbow. And then she flips over him and crap. I'm just like, oh, wow. Like those drugs either made him super fast or super something, but
so he's wrestling the crossbow away from Scarlet, and he's got her by the hands, and she just starts melting into goo in his hands. Oh no, Scarlet! No,
I just love that, and it's a nice close up too. You just see his hand holding her hand, and it just it just starts melting over his hand and just like, oh, what is going on?
And then he starts freaking out because he thinks he's going crazy. And then the crazy does freak out on him.
And then all their melted remains coalesce into a globule, horrific blob monster and just absorbs him. I'm not lying, folks at home. This is what's actually happening.
This is an actual episode. This has actually happened in this episode.
And then just drags him.
As a secret passage door opens up on the wall, and then just goes out, and the door closes, and we have to be continued.
Oh, just madness. Just absolute crazy. And this is what I love is the second episode is now in this mode. It's no longer slow at all. It's all just it's all messed up from this moment on forward.
Oh, it's amazing. And I love Shipwreck right here at the end before he gets swallowed up too, because he's lost. I mean, he is already kind of going a little bonkers at this point, but he has just lost his mind. He's like, oh my God, they're still alive. They're still alive. I didn't mean to hurt you. What do you want? And he is just freaking out.
And then like the wall opens up and he gets sucked into darkness inside of the blob. And next week on G.I. Joe. I mean, it's one of the best cliffhangers.
Boom. That's it. Like, what? And you're just left wondering, what the hell did I just watch?
So, okay, and this is, I'm going to totally try to not sound like a dude of my age. I just think a little something was lost. I'm not trying to do the things were better in the old days, but something was lost. When I was a kid, that G.I. Joe to be continued.
Mm-hmm.
Always just got me going like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like you just wanted to really see it. And then I was always just like, Jazz, I want to get out of school. I got to go watch G.I. Joe. I got to go. And so because of like streaming and stuff now, you don't quite have that same level of like cliffhanger of to be continued like in the old days. So don't get me wrong. I don't want us to go back. It's totally better now this way, because I get to watch all the shows I want to watch and stuff. But I got to admit, there's a little something missing because that real old school cliffhanger with the to be continued had weight. Like you knew you had to wait. And G.I. Joe is so good at creating like that moment where you're like, what? Mm-hmm. What? Like, and so, so that's one little thing I think I do miss from the old days is kind of encapsulated in the G.I. Joe cliffhanger. It's just we don't really exactly get that anymore. And I kind of wish we would, even if you get to just see the next episode again immediately, I kind of wish that some of that old school cliffhanger danger to be continued was brought into, not all, just a show here and there. Like I could even see some anime being like plussed up by it because there's something about a real cliffhanger. And I don't care if people go like, oh, it's all cheesy, blah, blah, blah. All right, then don't watch it. I think a really good, solid cliffhanger is super cool. Yeah. I just love them. And man, this got me when I was a kid.
Well, some shows are actually starting to do that when they're going back to the weekly serials and stuff, and not allowing for just full season dumps and stuff. So some shows are doing that. Sure. But they're trying. But yeah,
I'm not saying they're not.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
I'm just saying there was some real expertise on cliffhangerisms here.
Oh yeah,
the G.I. Joe guys knew how to do it to be continued. They
even
just
before the commercial really breaks, it was just like what? But we're gonna recreate a to be continued because we're gonna end this episode right here.
Dude, that was sexy. That was so sexy, dude. Golf clap. Let's give him a golf clap. Come on, Tom. What? He deserves a. Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit. And we're gonna see you.
I could not have done better. You, dude. Nice. G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe. We'll see you guys next week.
They're still alive! I didn't mean to hurt you. Stay back. Stay back.
Previously on the Saturday morning Beefcast, and then maybe I'll play a clip or something. I don't know.
Last week on G.I. Joe.
Last week on G.I. Joe.
Got mind boned.
Shipwreck was
Mind boned.
kooky as a loon. It was like, you don't know what the hell's going on.
It's so screwy.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Again, to the Saturday Morning Beefcast. My name is Jay with Retropop Gaming. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And my ghost host for this second part of our spooktacular episode are
Eric and Lashida Whalen from Super Secret Project X.
Woo!
And we're mostly just hanging out right now because our products are still just taking forever to get done.
Woo!
It is what it is. Enjoy the ham sandwich we're about to deliver to you.
I think it was what they give Shipwreck? A tuna? I think it was a tuna sandwich.
Yes.
Thank you for being concerned with my nutritional needs. Love that. So we're gonna continue the story of.
There's
no place like Springfield.
There's
no place, and not to the Springfield you're thinking of. A different Springfield.
There's No Place Like Springfield, Part 2. As far as I know, the last episode of the original G.I. Joe run.
Mm-hmm.
This is easily one of the most screwed up things I've ever seen. We ended with Shipwreck punching the crap out of his friends, whereupon they liquefied and turned into a goo monster, which then absorbed him, drug him across the floor into a dark passageway. To be continued, G.I. Joe. Now we're back, and he is still in a blob of snot, about, 200 gallons of what used to be his friends, falling down a hole. This is how I wish to live my life, everyone. I am happy at this moment.
Very happy. So yeah, we got to find out what happened to Shipwreck, because it's just such a horrifying twist that this has been taking. So like I said, Shipwreck was just swallowed up by his goo friends, and now he's sliding down like a ping, a pool. No, not pinball. Like a pinball, just like going down these chutes in this little ball of goo.
And lands essentially in a sewer.
Yeah, basically, he falls into like a underground river of some kind. Because this city just seems to be, over this huge base, because everything underneath is just metal walls and pipes and tubes.
It's
and
all
stuff.
Cobra, dude. It's all Cobra.
It's all Cobra
all the time.
And then I like how he gets shot out of the sewer, out of this manhole cover, like a wad of phlegm, just right up.
He gets horked out of the sewer.
He gets horked out of the sewer, and then let go, and then the glob of goo friends, GI goo, GI goo, just crawls back into the sewer, which we never, to live off its life. I don't know, go back to his goo wife, I guess. I don't know.
Lashida said this last night when we were rewatching this, okay? Because he turns over, he looks up at the sky, completely shocked, and just starts screaming. And she was like, that's the most appropriate reaction I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's about right.
You can't do anything else and be mentally well. He's the same person. That's why he's screaming at the top of his lungs right now.
He is just completely lost it. Before he got swallowed up, he's just like, "What do you want? You're still alive!" Ah! And he just finishes his scream, just ah. Love it. So he's in his front yard. His
screaming.
Screaming. The goo people have left him in his front yard. Mara and the daughter come out to comfort him, see what's going on, and he's just like, he's nothing but freak right now. He's just, get away from me. So they freak out and run into the house and call the cops, or they call the ambulance. I think they call the doctor. Um, and at this point, you're still kind of thinking like, is he still just crazy or what? Because like they show Mara and animate her in such a way that it seems like she's really concerned for him.
Yeah,
Like
she's like a sympathetic character.
yeah, like a very not like I'll go call the not robotic or stagnant or stale in any way. She's just like, oh, and the little daughter's always like, what's wrong with daddy, mommy? What's wrong with dad? You get the whole spiel, so you're still kind of on the fence just a little bit here. So she goes in and tries to use the phone. I do like that you're looking at the phone cord and it's like there's like a big chunk of it missing. Like they forgot to draw little parts of it. It's like,
Now, here's the moment that I like is they gave you it madness. And then there's this sympathetic moment where you're like, oh my God, poor shipwreck. Oh, he shouldn't be snapping at them. Oh, the women folk are trying to help. Oh, it's
yeah.
And then the bird flies off. And I realize that this isn't Polly. I realize this isn't Polly, but this is like my favorite with Polly. Polly flies off, and you're like, where's Polly going? And lands on a medical skeleton in the doctor's office. Starts saying really scary things to the doctor. The doctor looks at the parrot, starts having a conversation. The bird flies off. The bird then goes into the car wash, down into the Cobra base, and you're like, what is happening? Lands on a desk, and Cobra Commander turns around, and Polly is a Cobra double agent. And at this moment, I'm like, Polly, dude. Polly's changed sides.
Polly knows where the crackers are, man.
I mean, come on! Like right before he did that, shipwreck like tried to punch him. Come on! Like
get out of here, Polly.
Stupid bird. And yes, at this point in time, Polly is delivering the information that basically Shipwreck is having a psychotic break, and they are really, they've weakened him at this point, and maybe we can finally get past his mental defenses. Yeah. So it goes back, and there's the doctors and the nurses all taking care of Shipwreck and stuff, and Cobra's like, good, perfect. Soon we shall have our formula. The whole 9 yards of madness. And they're going back to the whole bit where you're going like, well, there's the loving wife and the doctor taking care of him.
Yeah.
And yada, yada. And you're just going like, you're starting to get an idea that Shipwreck isn't crazy, but you're still not fully sure exactly what's happening. You're getting a good idea. And what I love is after this whole kind of, again, a sympathetic scene with the doctor and the wife, the doctor turns around and in Cobra Commander's office, he gives up. We're okay, boss.
Yeah.
It's so good. I was like, we're okay, boss. And Cobra Commander's like, good, we're exactly where we need to be. And I just love the fact of Doc, which is, by the way, if you don't know G.I. Joe well, Doc is a old G.I. Joe character. Well-loved, very trusted, and have Doc turn around and be like, we're okay, boss. It's like, whoa.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Because we've seen, like, some goo people, but you don't. Is everybody a goo person? Is it just in Shipwreck's head? So we're still not sure exactly who's real, who's not. I do love this next part because they take him back to the hospital because I think he says, I need to go back to the hospital, and they're wheeling him on another gurney, and I just love this shot. It's just a shot of like a half round mirror, like you would see like in a corner or something, so you could see all areas, and you just see like this, this really nice shot of them wheeling him in, but through the reflection of this, rounded mirror. And I don't know what movie it's from, but it reminded me of a shot from, I don't know if it was like Jacob's Ladder or something along those lines, but I think it's a callback to some kind of psychological horror movie that just sparked something in my head. I'm like, because I know I've seen that shot somewhere else.
Yeah, because this does not act like G.I. Joe. This is kind of new to G.I. Joe.
Well, to kind of answer that, this entire well, these 2 episodes actually, this entire mini thing here is actually based off of the old show called The Prisoner.
Have you ever watched The Prisoner?
Yeah, and it's
No.
and
Okay,
basically what the prisoner is
it's good.
a guy is literally dumped onto an island, and the people are trying to get secrets out of his head, and so they're trying to break him down mentally so that
Yeah,
he can release these secrets to him.
it's
Oh.
Yeah.
it's legitimately a government-owned island that they send all of their embassy and spies to when they retire them
Hmm.
to make sure that they don't have any secrets that they're not supposed to have. So it's a
Oh.
whole series about this super spy, basically a James Bond type,
Yeah.
who is being psychologically attacked every episode as they're continually trying to break him down. In the notes of this, apparently, this 2 episodes was a homage to the prisoner. And the prisoner, by
Oh.
the way, is just as trippy and messed up as this.
Oh.
I
Okay.
mean,
Hmm.
even the address where Shipwreck lives, the Six Village Lane or so,
Is his
is
Yeah.
address, is
yeah,
the prisoner's address.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
and
I had no
so
idea.
yeah, so a lot of the stuff we're seeing here is kind of an homage to the prisoner
Okay.
itself. So
Oh,
that's
right on.
and so that might be a scene from there also with the fisheye mirror and all that
Oh,
stuff.
I'm certain it is.
Yeah.
I still have got to get through all of that show, but this is very much like The Prisoner. Yeah.
And knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
And now I know.
Knowing is half the battle. That's right.
The other half is red
Oh.
lasers, blue lasers.
So Shipwreck is back, back in the hospital, and he again, like we don't know, like is he cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? Is he not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? We're not quite sure. So they take him into the
The
interrogation room.
Yeah.
This is so great, and it's another like big like command center area, and it's pretty much the same slab that he's been like quote unquote dreaming that he's been on the past couple times. The doctor puts him on there, and this room is going to mess with his head even more to try to extract the information that they need. So he's getting it ready, but for some weird reason, I don't know why this is just such a weird. I don't know why they did this way, but
That stuff.
so yeah, it's just like it doesn't like plot wise, it just didn't really make sense unless you guys can explain it. But Tamat and Zamat stop the doctor from the procedure. It's like no, we've got this what Crimson Cadet.
Yeah.
What is her name? Maddie or
Yeah, it's the
um,
nurse.
but it's the nurse from when he first woke up. She's got the short blonde hair. It's the same person. So it's like, and things are starting to make a little more sense now. So you're like,
Okay.
okay, all right.
Okay. Now I feel as if I can slightly fill you in as to why this might make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch all of G.I. Joe, no one in Cobra likes each other. And they're constantly trying to get a foot up on each other.
Oh,
These two
okay.
especially. So the fact that these two would walk in and be like, we're kind of taking over this, we're doing this. And
Yeah.
if I recall correctly, what she's part of is kind of what they own. So they kind of want to. So as a kid, I even read it as they're just trying to get a foot up on the other members of Cobra. They didn't even have
Oh,
to say
okay.
it at this point. So they were
Oh,
like, yeah,
okay.
we want one of our people in there, and we're going to
Right.
get all the, like if Destro was there, they would have been like, screw you, Destro. We want this one.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
there, it's kind of just in the
Okay.
character of Cobra that they would do that. Now,
Yeah.
can I say that was the intent of the story? No, but as somebody who
Mhm.
grew up with GI Joe, that's what it feels
It,
like to me.
from what you're saying, if it fits, it definitely fits. What I thought at first was because when she walked in, I didn't make the connection to the nurse.
Yeah.
Originally, because when she walked in, she seemed a little hesitant because they're like start the procedure, and she's like, she takes a deep breath. She's like, like she wasn't quite sure, and she goes over to Shipwreck and starts talking to him, saying some weird stuff, and there's all these lights and stuff going on, trying to get him to remember what he needs. And she I thought she was somebody from Joe that had like infiltrated this base and was going to try to help him escape. But we find out pretty quick that that's not the case. She just goes balloony.
This scene is nuts. I mean, this, by the way, is the kind of thing you see in The Prisoner. This
really?
is the kind of thing you see on that show. There was stuff like this on that show. So
wow.
She turns the machine on with her special sci-fi goggles, which, by the way, now she looks hot and scary.
Super hot.
Scaroused.
And there's like disco psychological horror lights going on everywhere. And, and this is where who knows what this machine does, but it's just totally like a rave in there.
Yeah.
It actually looks kind of great. I just want to see like hot Cobra nurses dancing into the background. It's like it's completely nutty.
Oh, it's definitely got a 70s vibe, and it also it slightly reminds me of that scene in the Rankin Bass Santa Claus is Coming to Town, where the girl in the village starts singing that random song, and it's all 70s and trippy with the lights and the scenery and crazy stuff going on. That's what my brain went back to for some odd reason. That's a really weird cut. Not a deep cut, but a weird cut.
There's always tomorrow, I think is the song.
Yeah. That's it. Yep.
Now, what I like about the beginning of this interrogation is this shot. It is Shipwreck's head, eyes closed, basically, I believe, unconscious, and you see her mouth slide in, and she's talking into the side of his head.
Mm-hmm.
Little kids shows don't normally act like this. This was clearly in the script where they're going like, dude, this is like a totally uncomfortable, weird interrogation scene. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is so good. This is so messed up. And she's just going like, so she's asking him questions and trying to get what's, do you remember this and that? And you remember, like, you're blah, 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 and yada, yada. And his eyes open up and the blinking lights, and it's going through, which is actually nice because you don't see most of this in the show. It's like, here you are as a kid, and here's where you come from, and you're like, oh. And then you tried to you entered the service when you were 16 and lied about your age, and it actually talked about him fighting pirates. So you're getting like backstory, like legitimate backstory up until finally they show him when they first meet him, when he first shows up in G.I. Joe, like. Mm-hmm. Whoever wrote this legitimately was going like, no, we got to write something more than a toy commercial here.
Yeah.
And everybody, and I've seen this online. They're like, G.I. Joe was just a toy commercial, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yes, of course it was.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear me say otherwise. But to say that they never tried to make it more than that is bull, because there's these moments like this one where you're going like, dude, they didn't need to do any of that to sell me a toy.
No.
And so it's like they're doing this whole like psychological buildup, and you're going like, oh, she's getting into his head. And then do you remember being on the island and the old crazy guy that was drawn in terrible ways, and then do you remember the guy? And so she's finally breaking into it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love is they finally break them and get not what they want. No. He's like, yeah, he locked it into my head, and the only person that knows the password died that day. And Cobra goes, oh, God, we killed the only person in the story. Yeah. Well, to get it out of his head.
Yeah.
And now Cobra's going like,
turn it up.
Of course the good guys would come up with like like this way of protecting the password or the ingredient, yada, yada. And you go like, the good guys are smart.
Yep.
Smart. The villains are going like, we should have known. They would have been smart enough to do that, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Then they keep turning it up on him more and more, and it gets even more weirder and trippy.
Oh wait, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead just a little bit.
You did.
I'm sorry. They do the whole. It's turn it up to 100%. I'm sorry.
Oh, because it's the scenes that they go through as they're turning it up gets more and more trippy.
Yeah,
and you like the laser beams and all the Kirby dots start going even more freaky and stuff like that, and she's like she's like pushing him more and more, and he just keeps going. I don't know. Like, I really don't know that. And that's what you're saying. Like, it's not there. And she's like grabbing him by the face. Tell me, dang it!
What I love is the synthoid behind the twins is going like, dude, you turn that up to 100, you may damage him and her. This is dangerous. And they're like,
yeah,
okay.
So.
well, they say, the synthoid is developing, or
It's more of a humanity.
The doctor is developing thoughts of his own. What should we do? And then they just zap him into a puddle.
Yeah.
And then you find out that the doctor was not really a doctor.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is the whole thing where you're going like the chemical monster thing was more human than they were. Like, even if a villain was going like, hold it, guys. Like, I'm all up on the evil thing.
Time.
You might damage him.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of ours. You might hurt her. And the twins are like,
whatever.
Like, they don't care.
Deuces, bitch. And then they're just like, turn it up. So like,
turn it up to 100. Bitch.
Yeah. They tell her to turn it up, and she does. I don't know why her glasses came off at some point, but now there's like ghosts of like his parrot and like the cobra people, like heads like flying around.
Oh, it's a total horror show.
And she's still yelling at him, tell us the formula. And he's like, I don't know, bitch. And then like
it goes to commercial.
It just cuts right there.
And then it comes back commercial, and her glasses are off. And she's on the floor, not exactly like a feral animal, but close enough.
Yeah.
And then
might as well be.
And then she charges, I love this, lands like Batman on the table and straddles him, screaming into his face.
Which then the next scene, they cut, and her legs are on the side of him because they don't want to imply anything.
Right. Of course.
Cowards.
Can't do that. Cowards.
But then they show her again at another point, and she's straddling him
clearly
again.
straddling him.
Yeah.
Screaming into his face as ghost heads are flying around.
While Cobra ghost brains are like, are just like phantom weird. Like, wow, this was trippy, man.
This is really nuts. When people like roll their eyes at G.I. Joe, and I'm not saying that there isn't stuff in it to roll your eyes at. I'm not like one of those super fans that doesn't see the problems with the show. Right. But when G.I. Joe is good, there's very little else like it. And you hit these moments, look, I'm a JoJo's Bizarre Adventures fan. I love weird. I love really strange, crazy stuff. And I think I got that from G.I. Joe. Because there's these moments like this where you're like, what is happening? Like, this is you don't need to do this to sell toys. This is some crazy person on the crew was like, dude, had screaming phantom heads flying around him, while a hot blonde chick screams into his face. I mean, it's
while straddling his. Oh my gosh!
Today's episode, the writer's poorly disguised fetish.
But yeah, there's like all of his nightmares floating in phantoms around. There's like cobras and the flag exploding and sinking, and then there's like his parrot, like a demon parrot, like just flying around screaming. I mean, this is beautiful, man. It's so good.
Awesome.
And the parrot explodes into like a ball of beaming light, which then completely like freaking makes the chick go nuts.
Oh yeah, she loses it. Like total psychotic break. Falls over unconscious. I
mean, she's grabbing her head and like throwing her head back and just freaking out, man.
And pardon me for going a little blue on this one, but her screaming, tossing her head back, falling, and then shipwreck at the same time. I'm just like, somebody really enjoyed animating both of those scenes. Something on that. I'm sorry. That's what I saw.
I think it's a Firestar moment. You know, in Spider-Man is Amazing Friends, where you go, they were having a little too much fun drawing Firestar here. You have those moments where you're like, they didn't quite need to go that far. And that's what I think that was. Is there was an animator working late one night and just goes like, let's toss that hair a little bit more. Work those lips, you know.
I'm working late. Haven't seen my wife in 5 days. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so that was just a crazy, and so I don't know how to go on from that. It's just so crazy, but so
Everything is
she
nuts.
falls. Yeah. Tama and Xanax or whatever his name is come in and like help Zaymot, help her up, and then there's a big screen in the back, and then Cobra Commander shows up, and wait a minute, I just saw another freaky flub. So Cobra Commander has two faces, right? He's got his silver mask,
Yep,
and then he's got his
hood.
little blue hood. There's just a part here where he's sitting down at his desk talking to Tamat and Tomax and
Zaymot.
and Tempax or whatever. And he's got his hood.
A nerd.
he's got the blue hood on, and then as soon as he gets up to walk away, it goes back to the middle face. So I don't know. That was kind of weird.
Whoopsie.
But they can't figure out how to do it. They realize that okay, they kind of screwed up. They need this code word for Shipwreck to be able to unlock the formula. But in their story that they've given him, Lady J is dead. So what do we do? So the twins decide they're gonna put Shipwreck back in a hospital bed with a little hypnotizing light, and they're just gonna feed him the entire Webster's dictionary.
To be fair, it's actually a decent enough plan if you don't actually have the password.
What are we gonna do in the meantime? I don't know. Just feed him the dictionary.
All right, I'm going to try and crack this code. 11111, crap. 11112, crap. 11113, crap.
The combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Huh,
That's ridiculous. I've got the same combination on my luggage. Oh my gosh.
And a password an idiot uses to put
on their luggage.
on a sailor.
So this isn't working, obviously, and for obvious reasons.
Give them credit. It's better than nothing.
It's a good Well, we have to hold him for a while until we figure out something because the Baroness. They kind of cut to her for a hot minute. They cut to her for a hot minute, and she's out flying around with her squad. And there's like troopers on the beach and stuff. They're still trying to find the scientist, crazy scientist, because we still don't know what the heck happened to him. Mm-hmm. So they're out there trying to find him while they're feeding the dictionary to Shipwreck. He eventually wakes up from his sedative and goes into the bathroom to wash his face. And he washes the gray out of his hair and his beard, and he's like, "Wait, my hair, it's black." And I'm like, I'm looking at this cartoon. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, it's brown. Yeah, I don't know where he got that from.
Dude, let's think about this very carefully. Cobra had an entire island with a secret base under it, protected by a completely normal village. Where they were creating an end-of-the-world level weapon, in which they had synthetic creatures that could take anyone's place. They were so set up that the moment they had this situation, they went, let's just convince them it's 6 years later and get the password. And they have all this stuff. And one guy went, let's use the water-soluble hair dye. They never thought the man would shower.
And on top of that, they did not realize that the guy. See, this is my thoughts on that. They thought that maybe he would be so traumatized from all of his stuff because he was a Navy guy that he would not want to be around water for a little while.
After drowning.
they just have a USS Flag painting next to the shower. Ah, it's the flag. It went under. Ah,
He runs away.
and runs away from the shower. No,
Well-
this is one of those things where it's like the scene works so well in the show, but just don't think about it. You're like, wait a minute. He just splashed water on his face and all the gray just ran out of his beard. And you're like,
Okay, now I gotta ask a question. Was this episode before or after that the infamous commercials of "going to wash that gray right out of my hair," like 80s commercial with the hair? That was that.
I don't know.
I'm like, wait a minute, is that before or after? Because I'm pretty sure if it was like after, that commercial was probably being sang as this scene was being written, or maybe
I don't know. That's a
it was
really good question.
or maybe if it was before. Maybe that's where the commercial got their jingle from.
Yeah, maybe.
I will find out, and if I find it, I'm going to put it in right here for future me to figure out. But it seems like it was an afterthought. Like, oh crap, we're telling him it's 6 years later. Like, he's still just got, normal beard. But like 6 years, would that like? Because I mean, I've been going slightly gray since I was like 25, and I'm still not like gray. I got a little peppery in there. So like 6 years seems like I don't know.
Like you, for example, you're getting pepper on the side, but most of your beard is still dark. Most of my beard is white, and I've got almost no gray up top.
Yeah.
And I think we both work fairly stressful jobs.
I can say yes, it's possible, because there are some people. Extreme stress and trauma can cause the hair to go white.
Okay.
Yes. So in his aspect, if something that traumatic happened to him and he's been in a coma for 6 years, his body could be reacting and turning him slightly gray to white. So yes, it is possible.
Well, he wasn't in a coma for 6 years, was he? Because he fell off the ladder and hit his head, but he wasn't.
6 years later.
It was 6 years later. Then he fell off the ladder, got a coma. Had been like a day or two.
Yeah, it's just that much time had passed. So
however it may go,
okay.
yes,
Okay.
it is possible to turn.
I do. However, we do have to put ourselves into the context of who this was intended to be watched. Being watched by. As a kid, I never thought about it.
Right. No.
And when they did him with the gray hair, and then it came out, if I recall correctly, I was like, oh, like it's us now going like, wait a minute, like,
yeah.
Wait a minute. So I think this is
going on
completely
here?
fine, to be honest, because like as it hit me just right as a kid.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, Shipwreck is pretty much figuring out what's going on. Nothing seems to be quite real. He does go back into bed. A different nurse, not hot blonde nurse, a different nurse comes in to give him some milk, and he's just like,
hot nurse nonetheless.
Still hot nurse, yeah. But this part just got me a little bit, because I'm like,
this is crazy, isn't it?
I can't believe they animated this.
Let alone like the censors didn't say anything.
It aired. I don't know how many times it aired, but it aired. He's like, okay, I've eaten a sandwich and passed out. I've drank coffee and passed out. You're trying to give me milk. He grabs the nurse in a backwards chokehold, takes the glass of milk, and is forcing it down her throat. Holy crap! I was like, what?
The writers.
Now, in the context of this story, this makes complete sense. He's out of his mind. This works. But the fact that it was on a kid's show, that's where I'm coming from. Like, if something like this, and I've seen stuff like this on, like, we'll use JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Something like this has happened on JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, where somebody is just grabbed and forcibly something, and it's disturbing.
Yeah.
Blood, everything else out the door doesn't matter. The act of it is disturbing.
Yeah.
And this has all the same punch. I was watching it last night going like, wow, because it wasn't quick. The Polly comes in, what you doing? Yada, yada. And he's still just like, drink the milk. Drink the milk. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I just bird,
and it wasn't just like a quick second of him doing that. I mean, they stayed on that for a bit. I mean, he's like struggling with her, and she's like, let me go, and you're drinking this milk.
And
that's
then
2% now.
And then another Polly comes in, through the window, and he's still forcing milk down her throat.
Yeah.
Even the animation has changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly the new Polly rams into the Polly that was there before.
Previous Polly.
Previous Polly.
Previous Polly.
Knocks that Polly down, and with a little Polly laser beam,
I
that's the old Polly. And Polly was an imposter. I think we kind of saw this coming.
Yeah. I just like he's just holding like a little GoPro, and it just
Like
shoots
a
his
little
laser
GoPro, yeah.
at the other Polly.
And I had to laugh because they do the pan down shot of previous Polly getting electro demagnetized, whatever. And just they do the pan down shot of the bird and then showing his claws and he's paws, and all of a sudden the bird just melts. They don't show the bird's face. I'm like, wait, why are we like not showing the bird's face, but everyone else the gruesome like bleh, of everyone else,
Roadblock's eyeballs falling out, but we can't show the
bird.
parrot.
That's just like, okay, we can't show the bird.
Now, to be fair though, the bird hits the ground in a splash, and in the background, there's Shipwreck still manhandling the nurse, going like, what? And then the very next shot, he just goes like, no, you're drinking this milk. And he's still forcing milk down her throat. And I'm going like, and then she kind of says something, and then boom, he just drops her on the bed because she loses consciousness because the milk was drugged.
Yep, she's out. Yep.
It is her heart, her nose disappears there for a second.
I saw that too. She's just gone.
An effect of the milk.
He's like, I knew it. So he figures out what they were trying to do with the words. He figures out, okay, something fishy is going on here. They're trying to get this password out of my head. And him and the real Polly, bust out. They head down an aisle, and he's like, wait a minute, if these people aren't real, are you really real? And he just grabs Polly. He's just grabbing.
He's like, choking the bird. It's just not a euphemism. I mean, he literally starts choking the bird.
He just starts choking his bird.
Another animation mistake. They show the nurse really quick, and she's blonde.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Of course.
It's a side effect of the milk.
It's a side effect of the milk.
No nose, and it changes her blonde. What the heck? As you do.
It happens. So he's like, how do I know you're the real Polly? And Polly's like, remember that time in, I don't know, some city or something like that? And he's like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, you're the real Polly.
I almost wanted a, remember the gay bar in Syracuse kind of a moment? Like, I'm totally not making fun of that. Like, I totally want something where they kind of revealed a little bit more about him than you knew about it. But I don't care what it would have been. Just, I would have wanted him to take it just a little further so you could go like, what did Polly mean by that?
Honestly, what he said to me, that was more than enough. I'm like, oh, dude's he got up to some shenanigans.
Remember that time you walked in on...
Somebody just pushed it just a little further.
Yeah. Remember that time you walked in on Deep Six in the shower? Whoa!
Quiet, you bird. Stupid bird.
Stupid bird.
Shows Y7. Probably
So
not Y7.
So they're trying to escape, and they're running through, and they run into some scientific rooms where they are creating the synthoids. We see, I think it's Zartan. I think that's his name.
Yeah, Zartan.
Zartan. He's talking to like some of their other minions, talking about the plastic putty or whatever they use to create these guys, and we see these giant tubes, and they're making more GI Joe people.
Bum fights.
Okay, and then a side note,
I love little bum fights. Yeah,
as a kid, I wanted that table with those guys.
That would have been so great.
I want a thug fight blob guys on a table that everyone can just as a party just show up and just start like just beating the tar out of each other with like little plastic fudgy looking guys.
Oh god, I love. There's just this little table with these like as simplistic as you can think, like little humanoid figures like
great,
battling each other.
Bum fights.
So they're running out, and they run. I just love that they run through, again, totally unnecessary, but so fun. They run through another lab, and there's a scientist mixing some chemicals, and Shipwreck kind of bumps into him, and he spills all this stuff on his hair, and it just burns all of his hair off.
Yeah,
This
that was
poor
so
guy.
random. Like, what the heck?
So random. And
I think somebody, when they were working on it, went, "We need something to be funny here," because there has been very little humor. I mean, you could say things that were kind of humor-ish,
yeah,
but not really humor, not really funny. A lot of this
Yeah.
has really been like
yeah.
psychological horror for children. I mean,
Yeah, it has been really straight. I mean, there have been like, other than some of Shipwreck's little quips, like kind of towards the beginning,
that is what I mean.
there's really no other, because he is freaking out. He has lost his marbles. He didn't even remember having marbles at this point. You know, he's just doesn't know what the heck has been going on. I mean, he's figuring it out now, but yeah, it's been pretty straight since then. So like, let's just put just a little something in there for the kids, please.
That's kind of what I'm thinking that was. Yeah.
Yeah, that could definitely be it. Now, at this point, they run into a bathroom, and this seems like it would be like a fishy scene, but it doesn't end up being a fishy scene, because they run into another lab room, and there's nobody in there. There's a book open to like most of the formula and some other chemicals laying around. And he's like, oh, they're trying to recreate this formula. And then Polly just happens to spew out the code words that he needed.
Polly was there when the old man told
Lady J.
Lady J.
If you look at the scene when he's whispering it to her,
She's-
Polly's actually on Lady J's shoulder, and he's actually leaning forward with his wing up to his ear, like he's listening in.
I kind of figured. I didn't see that when I was rewatching it while we were chatting, but I kind of figured he had to have been there, because I mean, what parents do, they repeat what they hear.
Yeah, I actually caught that. Yeah, he's literally sitting on her shoulder, and when they're both leaning in, Polly literally leans in and goes with his wing, does this. It's so weird.
Because that was an hour ago, and they didn't address it like at all. Like, how did you know the word? I was sitting on your shoulder.
I'm actually impressed that they did that.
Yeah,
because most shows involving kids, actually these days, including adults, the people making the show just think the audience is so stupid that they don't understand anything that's happening, and they are continually having to re-explain the plot over and over again.
Yeah.
And what I liked about this was they treated you like an adult. They're like, you caught it or you didn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't have this, well, you see, blah, 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 yada, yada. And then Shipwreck goes, oh, you crazy bird, yada. And then they do like a song and dance about you shouldn't be listening to what other people are talking about, but it's
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Over a nuclear powered ocean.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was really cool. They're like, no, the bird herd.
Yeah. So that made sense. Like, I kind of put 2 and 2 together. But again, they didn't explain, which I think was great. But like, why did Polly do that? So at this point, like, because like, if I had forgotten that part at the beginning, even if I didn't know that he knew the password, why would he give him the formula to make the stuff right here? Because I mean, he's trapped in Cobra Base, and he's going to make the formula right here, and then they could just bust in and grab it. So I was still under the impression, I think when I watched this as a kid, that maybe this is another fake Polly that was just kind of trying to get the formula out of him. But no, because that wouldn't make sense, because the fake Polly wouldn't know the password.
See, my thought on it was basically he was talking about the formula and this and that, and Polly's kind of a simple character, and then goes, "Oh, this password." And I think that's basically all it was.
Yeah, because I know he needed to figure out a way to like escape and fight off the other people. And he's like, "Well, I could make some explosive water right here, I guess, if I knew the password." Oh, here you go.
I think that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's he goes over, and Shipwreck just starts spewing the formula out of his mouth.
And the thing that he needed was right there on the shelf in front of his face.
And this is where you have to question the intelligence of Cobra. They had part of the formula, and they had probably the dude's lab and all the chemicals that he had. They just didn't try to make variations of the formula until they
Right?
anyways.
Somebody could have figured it out. I mean, if you got time to spew an entire dictionary at somebody, you got time to figure out a few extra chemicals inside of a formula, you'd think.
But I just love the fake element thulium. Thulium isotope 385. And what I love is I believe isotopes are radioactive.
Yeah.
And I think that's a plastic ink dripper bottle.
Perfect.
So he just grabs the bottle and just goes, thulium isotope, blah, blah, blah. And then he puts because he puts a droplet in and it bubbles and he's all like, I'm Mr. Wizard. And,
Oh, I love it.
And what I love is then he kind of picks up the container full of bubbling red death liquid and just kind of goes, now what do I do? At all.
Like, I don't know what to do with this Jello here.
And then camera turns, all of Cobra.
So great. So great. Everybody's there. It's the whole family, man. It's so great. Destro's there. Cobra Commander.
Destro.
Yeah, Destro,
Zoltar, or whatever his name is.
Zartan.
Zartan, Zoltar.
That's the fortune telling machine.
Oh yeah, that is Space Ghost. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
And then there's like a couple other random like thug guys in the background. One of them looks like Kenny Rogers a little bit.
That's Torch.
Yeah, Torch.
Torch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Names.
So great. I just love seeing little side characters like that. It's so great. And
so there's a sink and he just pours the formula down the sink. Now, can I mention something? The water system of this base is hooked up to the ocean.
Yeah.
So the fact that he knew he had a chemical that turned water into high explosive and then just poured it down the sink, I'm going like, okay. I think as a kid I went, is that a good idea, dude?
He's desperate at this point.
And then what I really love is they pour it down and then he lights a match trying to light the water. And like all of Cobra's like, you idiot.
Oh no, they were like, wait a minute, let's see what he's gonna do.
Yep, Destro's like, it needs an explosive reaction to ignite the chemical in the water. He's like, that match won't do anything. He's like, you're bluffing. And he's like, we'll see. And he drops the match. And I just love that besides Destro, everybody scatters.
Destro took a small, cautious step back, but was like, probably not. And everyone else was like,
oh,
cheese it!
Cheese it. We're out of here. That's so good.
And then, of course, the beautiful part afterwards is nothing happened. So what do? You shoot him.
You do exactly.
To be fair, those were the dreadnoughts, and that's literally what they do.
Yes.
They literally are dumb enough to just shoot anything.
That's so great.
And like all the smart people in the room went, oh, right as they pulled the trigger.
And they almost hit him.
They did.
You almost got me.
Then we have the Pokemon Caesar flashes from all.
Oh yeah,
because the town starts exploding.
Telling you to buy the flagship, because then what's the next scene? The flagship.
Yep.
Buy the flagship. Buy the flagship. And then there it is, getting it in your head.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna. Okay, there we go.
That's bright. So we're back on the. We see like the town above the underground lab where they're at, just like everything's exploding. It's so great. Just, every building, every house, everything's on fire, chaos. It's like, yeah.
You pan over and there's the flag, and in the distance there's an island with an exploding town, and everyone's fine, and they're like, well, I think I know where the plot's going. Taking off. Let's just follow the explosions. I'm certain we're needed over there.
So we see the flagship, and we see the Joes on there, and we see that somehow I don't know if I missed it. I don't know if they said it or not, but the scientist happens to be on the flag as well. So they did find him, or he was able to, somehow make it to safety, and they do have him safe on the ship. So that's good, I guess. Crazy old man.
Now comes up, and unfortunately, in the modern day, and I don't know if you remember this or not, we no longer have the original version of this upcoming scene. What is on here is edited after the fact. And both of us remembered what happened originally when we watched it. Lashida looked it up to make sure that we weren't high, that we weren't just remembering stuff. She looked it up, and in fact, it was edited after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Shipwreck's gonna go get his wife and daughter.
Right.
Because he's a hero, that's what he does. Comes running down the street, there's his house on fire. So far, the scene is completely correct.
Right.
Steps in, building's on fire, runs into the house, gets into the back. The camera pans. There is his wife and his daughter. His wife is aiming a machine gun at him, and his daughter has a rocket launcher.
Yes.
His daughter has a rocket launcher. So far, the scene is not been edited yet. Okay. He's like, the fuck? Basically, he's like, what is going on? Now, this is his wife raises a machine gun at him, and then that is where the cut happens.
No, the edit was even before then, because when he runs in, she actually addresses him first. And she actually says something along the lines of like, I knew you'd find out, or something like that. He's just like, Mara, don't you love me? He's like, what? Didn't you love me? And the daughter, I can't remember what she said, but she says something to him also.
Really awful.
Yeah. And she actually is about to fire the rocket
Threatens him with a missile launcher.
Yeah. And then we cut to the edit part where Polly actually zaps her with the GoPro and actually hits the kid, and the kid melts first, because she's about to shoot the rocket launcher at him.
So they removed the whole little girl being a horrible little monster, psychologically destroying him, aiming a rocket launcher at him, a little girl about to murder this dude with a rocket launcher, and then Polly zapping a little girl and turning her into sludge. They cut this in the original version.
That's insane. Because like I'm watching through it right now, and we do see her for a brief second with the rocket launcher, and then we see Mara like picking up the gun to like shoot him, and then we see Polly with the GoPro, and then is the next frame the daughter is already melted.
That's because that is the shot where then the wife is then hit.
Yeah. Oh wow. Huh.
So
wild.
That was originally in there. There was. That's why I love this stuff. I just wish they would. I'm sick of people protecting people from stuff. Stop editing things. Just show it the way it originally was and explain to people whatever you need to explain to them.
Yeah, because I mean, she's not. It wasn't a real person. It's not like they killed her,
Yeah,
but
the thing is that when it was edited for, like, because the original, when it first aired like that, and then you have a cherry picker behind you that we're both like staring, like slowly.
I just saw something ominous and slow coming out from behind your head. It was like a gunship or something. I was expecting like just like a machine gun or something on a helicopter. It was really crazy.
That's great.
I found you, man.
For the audience out there, I live on the third floor of an apartment building, and we have very large windows. And today happens to be window cleaning day.
Window cleaning day.
So there is a giant cherry picker outside my window, and they are getting ready to wash my window, and I bet that was quite a view for you guys to see that behind me.
All I saw was you talking, and something to go back and watch it later. This really slow thing just slide out from behind your head, and I was going like, "What in the hell is that?"
Oh, that's great.
We're on the wrong G.I. Joe episode. The Viper. He wants to Viper window.
He's the Viper. So great.
Okay, all right. All right.
But anyways, they edited that out.
Yeah, what I was saying is that the original, when this originally aired, it was aired in full. But then after each subsequent airing, and when they put on the DVDs and all that stuff, then they edited it and then cut it out because that's when we started getting Tipper Gore's "We Got to Protect the Children" crap in the 80s and all that stuff.
No,
And
you protect the children by exposing them to reality. That's how you protect children.
The thing that cracks me up though is they edited out that, but not the psycho like Cobra Phantom Ghost, not all of the drugging or anything like that.
Not the psycho blonde riding shipwreck like.
Yeah, I'm guessing that maybe it was probably edited for time. I think it was edited more for time than anything. But yeah, the fact that maybe I want to say it was edited for time, but there's also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they also edited for the sake of was it repeatable offenses or something like that. One of the standards and practice thing where a little kid is holding a rocket launcher, and so they kind of edited that part because, well, little kids shouldn't play with guns, kind of a thing. So
it's not a little kid. She was a cute little monster, a homicidal, adorable little monster
with a rocket launcher. So great.
Yeah.
There was one part that I just saw in my notes. Back on the flagship before they go back to the island, Roadblock and Professor Mulaney are next to each other, and the professor's like, "Oh, won't you go help them?" And Roadblock's like, "Yeah, we need to go. We need to go." And the professor says to Roadblock, "Won't you do something?" And Roadblock's like, "We may do a couple of things." And I'm like, "What? Whoa, where are you guys going?" I was like, I thought that was kind of weird. And then we this is the second instance where we got the professor was saying something, and Roadblock's standing behind him, and as the professor is talking, right at the end of a sentence, Roadblock's mouth starts saying the exact same thing. It almost looked like he was mocking him, like standing behind him, like going, me. Ah, look at me, I'm a professor. I know, I'm smart. I know things.
You don't rhyme when you talk.
You don't rhyme when you talk. I thought that was a couple little things there. So yeah, yeah, Polly zaps his imaginary family, and Lady J and them show up, and he's standing there staring at the house, and Lady J says, what's going on? Was there something important in that house? And he's like, just a dream.
Yeah, like, oh.
And then G.I. Joe.
And here's the thing, again, from the episode where you bump into the woman that Synthoid was based off of.
Mara?
Yeah, Mara.
Yeah,
Mara. That is a continuation. He still is in love with her.
Yep.
I actually kind of wish they would have made another season off of this, because when they did the next season is when they added Serpentor, and they kind of changed things around, and they sort of stopped a lot of this stuff, which was
the start. Yeah, I think that's the start of the next season, is a two-parter, like the rise of Serpentor.
Yeah,
so
which is actually completely fun. I'm not judging it at all.
We'll get there.
Serpentor actually is one of my favorite villain lines of all time. He actually picks up a dude, and he goes, "If I wanted your opinion, I'd beat it out of you."
That's perfect.
Serpentor's a blast.
That's great.
I'm like, that's for a kids show.
Oh man! So when I first played the first part of this episode, I hadn't seen G.I. Joe in a long time. So that the opening to G.I. Joe was really super nostalgic for me. I really enjoyed that that opening song. So I was enjoying that, but there's a great little part in the opening that I never really noticed before. I guess not. There's a part where somebody throws Destro out of a plane.
Yes.
Somebody catches him.
Yes.
Tosses him hot potato to another guy.
Yes.
That person catches him and tosses him hot potato onto hitting another dude with another dude. I was like, what is that? I don't know if that's from an episode or what, but that was hilarious.
No, there's no episode where that happens. That is just a great moment in the opening where you're like, they're just having fun.
That's so great.
Both the Joes and the animators, they're just having fun.
So this episode, we have to thank Steve Gerber was the writer for this episode, and I'm just gonna give him a little golf clap for that, because that was a lot of fun. I can't remember last time I watched an entirety of a G.I. Joe episode, but this was a really great one to get into. There wasn't as many like I said, this was a really serious episode, so there wasn't a lot of like funny stuff to like make fun of. But
There's a
and,
couple
there
of
wasn't like a lot of like animation errors either. There's a couple here and there, not too bad. But yeah, it was a solid episode. I really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, no, there's
Nuts, man.
that's what I keep saying is I get it. It's a toy commercial. I understand that. But then a lot of people hear that and then they don't pay attention to the fact that there was quality fun stuff happening. And
Yeah.
there's BS episodes, but there's a number of these episodes that are just so fun. Like I
Mhm.
still from time to time watch the original Weather Dominator and
Mm.
Mass Device. Both of
Oh.
those miniseries are just okay. They're a little rough in spots, but they're so fun. I get it. They're toy commercials, but I just don't care.
Yeah.
They're silly and they're ridiculous and they're insanely entertaining, even to
Yeah.
this day. And then you get stuff like this where you're going like, there's a handful of these episodes in the season that
Mhm.
came after those two first miniseries that
Yeah.
are like this, where it's just like, actually, this was really considering this was supposed to be for kids. This is really tight, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There's a lot of stuff in here I was not expecting to see, and I'm glad that it was in there because that was really, really awesome.
One of my favorite.
Again, this wasn't like, like a for a Halloween episode, it wasn't like super spooky. It wasn't like when we did Mummies Alive, but it was just
Thank
there
God.
was just such a psychological mind meld, halfway through, and you're just like, what is going on? And I just think it pulled from a lot. The Prisoner, that show that you were talking about. So, of course, that makes me I got to go check that out now. But pulling from something like that, and also giving me vibes of like I said, like Silent Hill, and it gave me vibes of like Jacob's Ladder. It was just I thought it was. I thought it fit pretty well. It was just a lot of fun
I believe it's
to
on
watch.
Tubi or one of the free streaming sites, but you can't
Oh,
watch The
okay,
Prisoner. It is up.
okay,
And
yeah, definitely
and
check
I,
that
I
out.
put it down a little while ago. I
Hmm.
never quite finished it. I've been meaning to restart back up on it again because you have to be in the mood for 60s. It is pure 60s spy television,
Hmm.
madcap, whack weirdness. And some
That's the good
episodes
stuff.
are better than others. Some are
Mhm.
amazing. Some are kind of like, well, okay.
Yeah.
But it is just when you see it, you'll just be like, what? Like,
I love that stuff though.
so do I, and it's on my list of crazy pants shows that I stick. It's like Sapphire and Steel, just weird shows that you stick on every once in a while to be like,
Mm.
dude, this is messed up, and I love it. You know, just
Oh,
because it's messed up.
yeah. I love psychological stuff. Stuff that's like you don't know like what's going on. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like where is this leading? What's gonna go? Who's real? Who's not? Are you real? Like am I real? Like what's going on? I love
Okay,
that kind of stuff.
in that case, also try Sapphire and Steel.
Sapphire and Street.
I warn you on that one. It can be a little slow,
Hmm.
but it is one of the most and it's weirdly enough you watch it and then you have to go, wait, this is a kids show, and it was intended as a BBC kids show. It
Oh
is
wow.
so screwed up. It is so amazingly not really for kids. It is, the idea is mad, is all the elements in all of reality has a entity that embodies them.
Hmm.
Silver, gold, uranium, blah, blah, blah. It's a living being somewhere. So these things sort of keep a hold of time to make sure that time doesn't break apart and reality remains in place.
Yeah.
So when bizarre, time haunty, crazy, bizarre stuff happens, one of the teams that show up is Sapphire and Steel.
Oh.
And it's these two entities that are not human. They look human, but they're not human. And they show up, and it's these bizarre stories of them fixing reality as reality goes awry. And when I mean goes awry, I mean you have to see it to believe it. You
Yeah.
have to be like, wait, what? So like a season isn't at 7 adventures in a row. A season is a singular story.
Oh wow.
And so every single season they have, and they're all different lengths, are all these, there's this bizarre problem, and these alien entities known as Sapphire and Steel show up to try to fix reality.
Oh.
And they're
like
great,
that.
but they're like The Prisoner, where you're just like, this is so screwed up. Someone was high. Someone was really high when they wrote this.
Those are the best shows.
And
Somebody was smoking something. Oh, well, this has been a great. You guys have any final thoughts on this episode before we wrap it up?
Yo Joe.
Yo, just Yo Joe. Yeah, every time I think of G.I. Joe, I always, and for some reason, I always get fixated on that very close to the end part where he's at the sink with the match and Polly's there. Like every time I think of this episode, that's where my brain goes for some weird reason. I don't know why that singular part gets stuck in my head for some reason. But yeah, this is a good. I love that this was a two-parter. You know, we had this nice time to talk about this huge episode here. I love it. It's freaky, spooky. It's great for Halloween, and yeah.
Right on.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up. Again, everybody, my name is Jay with RetroPop Gaming. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and right here on the Saturday Morning Beefcast with my ghost hosts.
Eric and Lasheen Whalen from Super Secret Project Dash. Y'all have yourself a great time.
Yo, Joe, have a good Halloween. Eat lots of candy. We'll see you guys next time.
Catch you later.
Ghost. Oh. Mad scientists weird people out. Blob. G.I. Joe blobs out.